So come on in. If you're a clay shooter, you like to shoot guns for fun, right? For for food, but it is specific to clay shooters, competitive shotgun shooters, sporting clays, trap, skeet, five stand. What else is there? Wobble trap. Is that what it's called? Wobble. Is it called wobble trap? I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Anyways, let's dive in to a concept that I think is, or I know is really important for clay shooters that most of them don't even recognize, and explains a whole lot for their inconsistency, pressure, frustration, missed targets, all in their clay shooting. And it's related to this. What if your best shooting does not come from trying harder? What if it comes from finally getting out of your own way? And that might sound like, what? But there's an opportunity in this that I want you to see. And I want you to really hear what I'm saying, because this is not just some, motivational phrase. This is completely different path, because most shooters think the path from where they are now, missing more than they should, getting tight under pressure, overcorrecting, second guessing, losing trust, letting one miss turn into several. That's where you're at now, right? And where you want to go, more confidence, more consistent, more free, more often in the zone, and able to shoot to your true potential. That's where you want to go. So where you are now and where you'd like to go. And it's not about, if you think getting from where you are now to where you want to be is from trying harder, focusing harder, controlling more, thinking more, and making sure that you do not mess up, that's not the vehicle. That's the vehicle that you thought would get you from where you are now to where you want to be. That's the vehicle you've been using. And for a whole lot of shooters, that vehicle is exactly what is keeping them stuck. So the opportunity that I want to present to you today is there is a different path to better shooting than just more force, more control, and more conscious effort, right? The real path is learning how to let go of your self interference so your higher performing self can actually take over. And that is a great opportunity. It's a real path, because the truth is, your best shooting is often not happening when you are trying the hardest. It is happening when the conscious mind quiets down, when the ego loosens, when fear softens, and something deeper takes over. And that is the zone. That is flow. That is the state where you are tuned in, you're tapped in, and you're turned on, not forcing the shot, but allowing it. And if I had to give you the one big domino for this whole live, it would be this. If self interference is what is blocking your best shooting, then more trying is not the path, right? The real vehicle to get you from where you are now to where you want to be is learning how to let go so the right shot can happen through you instead of being strangled by you. And that is the big belief, because once a shooter really gets that, then this work makes complete sense. So now they understand why trying harder has not created the consistency and freedom that they want. And I care about this because I have seen so many shooters with more than enough ability more than enough, right? Enough skill, enough eye, enough experience, enough knowledge, enough gizmos and gadgets and practice. But they could not access it consistently because they kept interfering with it. They would miss and instantly tighten. They would get behind and start forcing. They would get pressure sensitive and start mentally steering. They would want the target too much and start gripping. They would overthink the line and overthink the miss and overthink the correction and overthink what it meant. And then what happened? They were no longer shooting free. They were shooting from ego, shooting from fear, shooting from conscious interference, shooting from the need to control. And that state blocks power. That state blocks rhythm. That state blocks flow. That state blocks the deeper intelligence that already knows how to perform when you stop suffocating it. And that is the epiphany, because a lot of shooters have had moments where they accidentally let go, usually after they get so frustrated that are tired or to the point where they almost want to give up. I know you felt that. Usually, you know, with that frustration, that's when you're like, whatever, and you just let go. And all of a sudden, they start shooting better. But why? Because in that moment, they finally stopped gripping. They stopped trying to control every little thing. They stopped mentally strangling the shot. They stopped making it all about fear and force. And the crazy thing is, they usually do not realize that is what has happened. But that is exactly what has happened. They let go and their power returned. So let's go through this. And I want to give you 3 secrets today. So, secret number 1 is related to a false belief that you've had and that you may still have, related to the vehicle that's going to get you to where you want to be. And this is where shooters think that the vehicle that they've been using, the things they've been doing, gets them to where they want to go. Like, they think more trying, more conscious correction, more forcing, more controlling, more mental effort, more bearing down. That is the vehicle they have been relying on. And I understand why, because it feels logical. If I care more, I should try harder. If I miss, I should correct harder. If I'm under pressure, I should lock in more. If I want to perform, I should control more. But that is not the real vehicle. Because for a lot of shooters, the more they try to consciously control what should be trusted and allowed, the worse they shoot. So why is that? Because the true vehicle is not force. The true vehicle is the mental game. The true vehicle is learning how to let go of ego, fear, over control, second guessing, and self interference. The true vehicle is learning how to get out of your own way so your deeper, trained, higher performing self can do what it already knows how to do. That's the real path. Because when shooters grip, they get tight, they rush, they steer, they doubt, they overcorrect, they lose rhythm, they lose connection. And that is exactly what blocks their highest performance. So the old vehicle, what you thought would get you there, was trying harder and controlling more. But the true vehicle is release interference and trust deeper. And that is why what I offer is so different, because I do not just help shooters focus better, I help them understand what the mind is doing. Hi, Tammy. Thanks for the heart. I help them understand what the mind is doing, what fear is doing, what ego is doing, and how to access the zone on purpose instead of only by accident. All right, so then we're going to look at a secret number 2 that I want you to go in, dive in with me right now. And it's related to your internal beliefs, right? This is where shooters think things like, maybe I just can't do it. Maybe I'm just too much in my head. Maybe I'm not mentally strong enough. Maybe I always choke. It's just who I am. Maybe I can't trust myself. Maybe I'm just one of those shooters who gets in their own way. And I really want to slow this part down for you because a lot of shooters are making identity statements about what are actually patterns of interference. And that is a huge difference because it's not identity, it's pattern. A pattern of gripping, a pattern of overthinking, a pattern of forcing, a pattern of making the miss mean too much, a pattern of letting go and fear take over the conscious mind. And if it is a pattern, it can be changed. And that is the good news, right? Because then the question is not, what is wrong with me? The question becomes, what am I doing that is interfering with my own power? What am I gripping? What am I afraid of? What am I forcing that should be allowed? And that is much more freeing of a question because if the issue is interference, then the answer is not becoming somebody else. The answer is learning how to stop the interfering. And that is exactly why the framework I created helps shooters because I help them to understand what fear is doing, what ego is doing, what overthinking is doing, what the conscious mind is doing to block flow, how those patterns get reinforced, and how to shift into a freer, more aligned, and more powerful shooting state. So, no, this is not just for naturally gifted shooters. This is not just for people who never feel pressure. No, this is not just for the lucky few who somehow find flow. This can be learned, this can be trained, this can work for you. And then the third secret I want to share with you right now is related to thinking those external things are your problem, right? I'd shoot better if the targets were easier. If the event weren't so big, if the squad was different, if the weather was different, if the pressure wasn't there, if I didn't care so much, if the course fit my eye better. And yes, those things can affect people, but the outside is not the deepest blocker because the zone does not come from perfect conditions. The zone comes when interference drops. So two shooters can see the same target and one stays free and the other tightens up. What changed, right? Not just the target, the inner state. And that is why the issue is deeper than the external conditions. So if fear is running the conscious mind, if ego is gripping, if the person is trying to control what should be allowed, then even a reasonable target can become hard. So the answer is not waiting for perfect conditions. The answer is learning how not to let the conditions pull you into self interference. And that is where freedom starts. That is where consistency starts. That is where your real power returns. So now let me make this really practical for you. The next time you start pressing, forcing, mentally steering, I want you to ask, where am I interfering right now? Am I gripping the results? Am I gripping the miss? Am I gripping the need to control? Am I gripping the fear? Am I trying to consciously do what should be trusted? Right? And then ask yourself, what would letting go look like right now? Not giving up, not checking out, letting go of interference, letting go of fear, letting go of the need to force, letting go of the ego that thinks it has to run the whole shot. That question is powerful because many times the best shot is already there underneath the grip. So now let's transition for a moment. If this is resonating with you, then you already know this goes much deeper than one tip about focus. right? This is about the actual state that you are shooting from, what the conscious mind is doing, what fear is doing, what ego is doing, what is actually blocking the zone within you, what is interfering with the deeper intelligence that already knows how to move. And that is exactly why I created what I've created for clay shooters, because understanding the concept is powerful, but having a complete system to retrain the thoughts and the habits and the beliefs and the patterns and programming is what changes things much faster and much more fully. So here's what I've created. Here's a stack of several of my products that I pulled together. So I offer two ways for clay shooters to step into this work. One's called the main and one's called the optimal. So the main option is a monthly subscription path. So think of it as a monthly subscription path, and the optimal is a one-time payment, or it can be divided into payments for lifetime access. All right, the main and optimal. Inside in the main, well, inside both of them, I should say. Let me just go with that. There's 21 video lessons that I've created, training, just like I'm training you right now, but with specific lessons. They're an hour and a half to 2 hours each. It's my personal exclusive framework for transforming the mind and habits and beliefs and patterns and programming. It's the program that I've helped thousands and thousands of clay shooters all around the world, world champions, Hall of Famers, you know, all around the world. All right. And so 21 video lessons, Mind Mastery Collective private community. So these are all like-minded people where you can support each other, help each other, guide each other, learn from each other. Direct access to me in the community. It's through, support and lives, exclusive lives and group sessions throughout the month. And then also monthly dialogue with Dawns. They're live Q&A group calls. They happen every single month. And then what I've done is I've got years of recorded monthly dialogue with Dawns on replay for you, with little bullet points of what specifically was asked. Hi, George. Are you the person from the well, it depends on what hypnosis videos. I am the one making them. You would recognize me probably. That I've got social media pages, the Dawn Grant Mental Training and Hypnosis, the Mind Mastered. So dawngrant.com is where you can see all my hypnosis audios and my mental training videos. Hypnosis are audios, actually. Mental training is videos. All right, so the main and optimal, everything I just listed is in both of those. The other difference, besides the main being a monthly subscription and the optimal being a lifetime access with one payment, is that the main has one hypnosis audio that's a training tool throughout the entire program. And then the optimal has like 19 hypnosis audios. So not only the same one that's in the main, but there are there's lesson specific hypnosis audios throughout the entire program. So main and optimal framework that I created, transforming your mind, habits, beliefs, patterns, all sorts of stuff, much more advanced than what I have just gone over there, and what much more advanced than what most other people are teaching out there. If not, like 99% of mental trainers and sports psychologists is barely touching the surface of what I teach people. So George, I'm not certain what a test video. I mean, I've been doing lives for a few months on TikTok, but I don't know what test video. Maybe it was my first live. But if you follow my page, you will see lots of videos related to mental training and hypnosis on all my social media. And then Mind Mastered, which is a separate page, you will actually sample hypnosis. Hi, Robin. Okay, so I've gone over the main, I've gone over the optimal. All of this matters because some shooters, they want the monthly entry point. They want to pay that monthly amount. And some already know they want the full system, the fuller hypnosis support, and lifetime access. And that's what the optimal is. So that is the stack. You're not just getting information, you're getting a complete framework: subconscious reinforcement, community, direct access, live support, and years of replays of the monthly dialogue with Dawns to help you stop using force as the path and start entering the zone more intentionally. So, if this speaks to you and you are tired of trying harder only to block your own power, this is the time to step in. So, choose the level that fits you best, either the main or the optimal. DawnGrant.com. That's just my name, DawnGrant.com, because your power does not come from gripping harder. Your power returns when you let go. And that's exactly what I created this work to help shooters learn how to do. So DawnGrant.com. I do have a free web class for clay shooters. There is the online course that comes in the two options I just mentioned: hypnosis meditation audios that are instant downloads, several included in the optimal, one included in the main, and lots of other goodies. There is a whole page devoted to clay shooters at DawnGrant.com. So check it out and mark your calendar. I do lives on social media every Tuesday at 2:00. You mark your calendar and you can learn lots of good stuff. And follow me because I give you free tips every single day, literally. So thanks for tuning in, and I will